Acura has already produced so many Integras over the generations over the years since 1986. I was so excited when Acura dropped the hint that they were going to bring the Integra back. With such an iconic name and importance to the auto industry, they couldn't just bring back the A-Spec Integra and stop there, right? In addition to multiple iterations of the Integra over the years, including an icon such as the Integra Type R of the late 90s, Acura released the Integra Type S only 1 year after the initial release of the A-Spec Integra. So this is nothing short of incredible for a single automaker to do. This wasn't all that Acura had done lately either. Shortly after the Integra Type S started to show up at dealers, Acura released the Integra DE5 track car, which is literally a race car. Again, it blew my mind. Since Acura announced they would be bringing back the Integra, could you have ever believed in such a short time there could be 4 different Integra variations? I was trying to think, could this DE5 track car be the right kind of car for me? It wasn't street legal, it didn't even have a VIN, couldn't be registered, could never be street legal. I mulled it over for a week and I decided maybe it's not yet ready for me. So I had to pass it by. But it did make me stop and think, what other possibilities are there for us? It's only been a few days since the big news that I was not quite expecting from Acura. As many of you know, the very first car I ever bought where the title was actually registered to my name was an Acura Integra. At the time I had no idea what GSR meant, but after seeing it and driving it, I knew how special it was. I told myself, this is it. I'll never need another car again. In a lot of ways, I wasn't wrong. I was satisfied. But sadly, Acura stopped producing the Integra shortly after, and while you could purchase older versions of the car, I never lost hope that Acura would one day create the Integra again. Many years after ownership and falling in love with this car, I also told myself that if Acura ever released the Integra again, I would be totally on board with it. By then I knew the impact Acura had made on this car, even when they mistakenly named one of their sporty 2-door hatchbacks the Acura RSX. I had faith that Acura would one day be able to blow our minds again. When Acura announced the Integra back in August of 21, I knew I was all in. As soon as I could, I bought the 6-speed A-Spec and instantly fell in love with its handling and fun. But Acura had more surprises for us, didn't they? Only 1 year later, we would be graced with the 2024 Acura Integra Type S. To those who've ever driven this amazing car, it's understood that Acura knows exactly what they're doing. They knew and fully understood the legend of the Integra, not to be confused with the Acura legend, which is a fabulous sedan. But Acura wanted to pay proper homage to the Integra legacy. I gotta tip my hat to all who worked on the Integra because it is a fantastic art piece and will definitely be remembered in the automotive history books as one of the best manual sports cars ever created. Shortly after the A-Spec Integra was released to the public, Acura entered into the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb with the A-Spec model of the Integra, gutted and upgraded for race specifications. It was really neat to see.
Here we go. Here we go. Oh yeah. That had a really good sound to it. Not bad.
I had the fortune of meeting the race car driver of the Integra A-Spec, Paul Hubers from Canada. He's a really nice guy. The next year, I was grateful to be able to attend Pikes Peak to see Lonnie Unser driving the Integra Type S to the top of Pikes Peak.
Oh, here we go.
It was so cool to see that car ascend.
Teggy S. Okay.
Then when we went to the Grand Prix of Long Beach in Southern California recently, we had the chance to attend their car show, which was in full force and strong with Honda and Acura products. One of the most impressive to me, of course, was the DE5 track car.
This is a really, really cool car. Holy moly.
That I was so tempted to look into and would eventually go into to race at Pikes Peak this year. Also recently, I was able to drive the Civic Type R in all of its glory. I'd spent many, many miles in the Integra Type S and absolutely loved this car and had a firm understanding for its handling characteristics. But when I drove the Civic Type R, I went in with a mission to see if it was really as stiff and bouncy as a lot of people have said. Many would go on to say that the suspension was completely wrong, but not only did I disagree with this assessment, but I felt that the Civic Type R was seriously special. I fell in love with it and absolutely loved the suspension. But do you know why I loved the Civic Type R so much? Not only because the engine was so engaging, but the sounds of the engine inside the car as you drive it. Of course, the manual stick shift was perfect with that glorious knob. It really made you feel like you were a race car driver after sitting in those deep red bucket seats. I absolutely love those seats. When you put the CTR in plus R mode, you can't help but smile because you really see the attention to detail that Honda put into their baby. After nearly a week of driving this car, I went away in total awe and appreciation and admiration for Honda. I started to look into actually buying this car because I loved it so much. I kept asking my Acura dealer if they could somehow get me one, but unfortunately Acura doesn't get those Civics for you. Although I loved my ITS so much with its rowdy attitude and amazing handling, including its amenities, I also loved the racing experience the Type R provided with the racing curbs and horizontal tachometer in the dash. So when Acura unveiled the EV performance concept, I was asking myself a question. This EV concept looked amazing, but would Acura be making an EV Teggy? What about racing-inspired EVs? Why so much investment into the EV concept? Because the design language looks absolutely stunning. I couldn't help but feel slightly shocked in this direction. I know EVs are on every manufacturer's roadmaps, but to show and display such a stunning piece, you'd have to close your eyes to not see that Acura means business with their EV. But for an enthusiast who loves the rowing of the gears, the clutching of the pedals, and the supreme engagement of the wheel around corners, could envision the same satisfaction of an EV Integra. Maybe I'm just not ready, but this concept was serious business for me. Throughout the day, I was thinking about this EV concept and what it meant for Acura. The direction is clear. EVs are on the horizon for Acura. After driving the Civic Type R and its race-inspired setup, dash, interior, and for an enthusiast like myself, what did it all mean?
This is one of the best looking Integras, man. This color, those carbon mirror caps, shoot, so good.
The Acura showroom floor in Long Beach really made an impact with me, so that couldn't be ignored. The presence of Pikes Peak couldn't be ignored with their Integra lineup. The incredible IMSA cars that Acura demonstrates at each of their races can't be ignored. But the EV direction, that can be ignored either. What I came away with at Long Beach was that Honda and Acura truly care about racing and the experience it gives to the driver. Together, they will exude the racing spirit that so many are yearning for. Does this mean that EVs can't coexist with the Acura lineup along with their stellar ICE machines such as the Integra Type S and others? Not only a few months later, Acura had dropped more exciting news that tantalized my taste bud for Acura Teggies. The Integra Type S doesn't have 0 to 60 stats to topple the charts. It doesn't have the smallest form factor chassis like the Honda S2000. But in a world where EVs dominate the speed ratings, and directly after the big drop of the new Acura EV performance concept, Acura is making a move that is very bold. Well, later that night as I was standing on a 2-story scaffolding, I had to check the Acura website again just to catch a glimpse of that EV design concept. And I noticed that there was an HRC edition Integra on the site. I had to do a double take, and then I noticed that Mr. Rady had posted the concept and was showing pictures and talking about the specs and all that. My heart was racing and I couldn't believe it. So after the announcement of the Performance EV, Acura made another bold statement that really did quell my charged emotions, and in a world where EVs must exist in the lineup, the move was also courageous for the Integra HRC prototype to be announced. To me, Acura is again saying that they are still going to be making exciting products for the enthusiastic fans. They are still making products that inspire the racing spirit and allow each of us who really need this sort of excitement a taste at their engineering genius. Driving an EV is a completely different experience, and so the comparison between the two is very difficult. Coming from someone who is an ultra enthusiast when it comes to the 6-speed manual transmission experience is something of a difficult topic that I've struggled with for many years. EVs can go fast, but then what? Acura has the engineering expertise to make a fabulous V8 muscle car, but why don't they? They could make the fastest car if they wanted. They could do all sorts of things. But just because something goes fast doesn't mean it's going to be immersive and exciting and something that you can really harness and enjoy day in and day out. For me, driving with a manual transmission my entire life has left me with a slightly skewed perspective of what fun should be in a driving car. A 6-speed manual transmission is something that really hooked me, and I just can't imagine driving without one. Even if they found a way to make a 6-speed EV, the sounds also need to come into play, right? Not only the sounds, but also the vibrations of the pulsing engine. There's a lot that goes along with a combustion engine that an EV just can't quite satisfy. I've also owned many automatic transmission vehicles, and while each car with an auto is easy to drive, it doesn't always provide you with the most engaging experience. Of course, I'll never forget the first time when I drove a Ford Mustang GT and the ferocious engine you had to control. I must admit it was very fun to smash the pedal and hear the sound screaming out of the engine and throughout the car. Can an EV provide the same sort of experience? Not quite. It can blister your mind with the speed, but the only sounds you truly hear are the molecules in your head getting crushed as your skull presses against the headrest as it takes off. But doing this over and over again, can it be a sustainable experience? And yet the idea of a performance EV is intriguing, and ever since Acura started to talk about the ZDX, I was curious. What made it interesting for me was Acura's undying commitment to their engineering philosophy of stop, turn, go. So I really felt that Acura wasn't just going to make it fast, but they also wanted to make it a superb handling vehicle. So for me, I wanted to know what the Type S ZDX would deliver. So we drove our 2024 Acura Integra Type S to Southern California to experience what we could and find out more about this interesting car Acura calls the ZDX. We looked at the ZDX and it looks great in person. The interior's great, the seats are very comfortable and plenty of room for a family of 5. But I just kept getting conflicted on what we should do, EV or ICE. So when the HRC prototype dropped for the Integra, I couldn't quite believe my eyes. It's August and Acura is now teasing a prototype of the Integra HCR only a year after the Type S. Seeing the IMSA race cars at the Grand Prix of Long Beach demonstrated Acura's level of capability, and anyone who would question if they know what direction they're going needs to take a test drive in the new Integra Type S to know just how much they know. Looking at Honda and Acura as a brand, it doesn't seem likely that combustion engines are going to stop anytime soon. Sure, EVs are making splashes, but the reality is too many of us have lifestyles that can't be satiated by the EV speed alone. Too many of us can't help but feel the exhilaration while pressing clutches, shifting gears, while at the same time taking a turn after turn after turn. Seeing the sleekness of Acura's new EV performance concept in comparison, what a big impact it made on my enthusiast mind. I realized that Acura was truly serious about making EVs as part of their lineup in a big way. I mean, look at it, it's beautiful. Looking at that concept, it's undeniable the commitment to the EV segment Acura seems to have. But it is making my heart wonder, did Acura just forget about all of us who still love the sound of engines, who still love the heat of the exhaust pipes, who still fancy a ride in a vehicle that offers its own exhilaration? If it's not smashing the molecules of your brain like EVs do off the line, my thought on all this is that Acura has a vision to be able to harness both the electricity as well as the combustion of fuels and can meet the needs of all of us. It's going to take Acura time to ramp up with their EVs. Acura knows just how much effort this will take. Engineering the ZDX was a massive effort for Acura, and that was even after GM had done a lot of the work on the platform. Acura committing to the EV segment in such a big way made me wonder, where's the brand going? I'm not sure I'm ready for the ZDX, even though it handles very nicely, drives so buttery smooth, is fast, and my kids really loved it. But it still made me nervous driving across country as we normally do. And when you're as busy as I am, it's hard to plan around charging stations. So seeing the EV direction left me shook. The ZDX delivers in a great way, but what it's missing for me is the sound of combustion. It's missing that magical stick in the middle of the console that tingles the transmission. It's missing a third pedal. But does my mindset need to be no EV, only ICE, or can it be both? Can Acura pull off the EV while at the same time offer the HRC experience for the enthusiast? I think the latest drops, one for the EV and one for the HRC, make a powerful statement that we should pay attention to. Acura means business, but they also mean fun. They mean performance, and they mean to satisfy their customers as well as their enthusiast fans such as myself. Acura as a brand is something that continues to impress me. In the modern age where AI is writing people's reports and apps are telling us where to go and how to get there, Acura is making sure that each of us still takes the time to enjoy motors of yesteryear while looking forward to motors of future years. The Integra HRC prototype offers a level of excitement that will satisfy even the most enthusiastic of enthusiasts. I'm almost sure of it. When I saw the bigger and slotted disc brakes that had more pistons for the calipers, when I saw the carbon accoutrements throughout, even in the back seat, I was brought back to reality. Acura is not a brand where EV is the only future. They appear to be ushering in an entire line of racing products that will lead to many years of excitement and enjoyment for plenty of combustion fuel-driven fun. Ever since the announcement, my mind has been swirling, and seeing that massive hood vent on the Integra HRC prototype, seeing that the car is only a two-seater, really exudes the racing spirit that is alive and well in the DNA of Honda and Acura. Seriously, Acura, I can't wait to see the next drops of the news for the Tegi HRC or the Herc Tegi. Until then, we're gonna wait patiently. Because honestly, with the shifting experience so perfect as the Honda S2000, the NSX, and Acura Integra of every generation, as well as Honda's racing line of IMSA, Formula One, and plenty of motocross, don't forget the Moto Compacto. We can't ignore the fact that there is a racing spirit that continues to thrive and continues to live on. Acura is up to the task. To help us all realize just how exciting the future of combustion is, the Integra HRC prototype is a symbol of Acura's commitment to all of us. At the same time, the EV performance concept is a testament that Acura will be doing their EV in a much different way. Combine the two and I think there's some very exciting things for each palette. I don't see it any other way. So what are your thoughts about the new Integra HRC or Herc Tegi? What are your thoughts about the EV performance concept? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked this content, be sure to subscribe and check out some of my other videos. I really do love this Acura brand and some of the exciting things, and hope you're tantalized as well. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.